What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm gonna be explaining Canada. Yeah, so we're gonna make this a series. So I'm gonna do like Canada in this video, then USA, Mexico, and go down into Latin America, Europe, Asia, Arab, Valencia, then Africa, then Oceania. Yeah. Alright, so let's start off with the flag of Canada. So yeah, I'm going to do it in 8 categories. Flag, geography, military, economy, population, ideology, language, and life quality. That's how I'm going to explain it, kind of. So starting with flag. So the Maple Leaf flag came to Canada in 1965 when they gained their independence from the British Empire, or I guess Great Britain at the time. Yeah, I'd say Great Britain. So the red represents the historical ties with the United Kingdom, as they were very close to the United Kingdom. The white represents historical ties with France, as they are also very close allies with France and still are today because they're in NATO. Then the maple leaf represents the national identity and unity of Canada. Let's move on to Canada's geography. So Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. The provinces being British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. So British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan. I'm circling with my mouse, so look at my mouse if you want to see the name. Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland and Labrador, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia. On the territories of Canada are the Yukon territories, the Northwestern territories, and Nunavut. So yeah, and so in the West, on the West Coast, you can find a lot of beaches for the North Pacific Ocean. Then in kind of the Midwest of Canada, you can find a lot of mountains, the Canadian Rocky Mountains. Then in central Canada, you can just find a lot of flat ground. It's not too hilly, just a lot of flat ground, towns, big towns. Then, on the East Coast, you can find a bunch of beaches to the North Atlantic Ocean. So that's kind of geography of Canada. Oh yeah. Also, let's say, northern Canada, that's very, very cold, uninhabitable, no one really lives there. Then southern Canada, it's warm, but still, compared to some other countries, it's pretty cold. Let's move on to military. So, the Army of Canada is kind of interesting as it's strong and weak at the same time. So, there's 68,000 active soldiers in the Canadian Army. So active means at military camps, on duty right now, not fighting, not in a war. So that's kind of what it means. Kind of like that. Then there is 28,000 reserved troops. So there's 82 tanks in the Canadian Army. So, and there's 3 military squadrons, and each the squadron has 19 tanks. And the Navy of Canada, probably the strongest part. So the Navy has 12 frigates, 4 patrol submarines, 4 Arctic and offshore patrol ships, 12 coastal defense vessels, and 8 unarmed patrol training vessels. And there's 430 planes in the Canadian Army. So, they're they're kind of like like Canada compared to some other nations, like some like African nations, some small Asian nations, small European nations, small little nations in Latin America. Canada is pretty powerful. So Canadian Army is the 27th strongest army in the world. Now let's move on to the economic system. The Canadian economy has $2.117 trillion, one of the biggest economies in the world. For exact, it is the 10th largest economy. The Canadian GDP is $1.988 trillion, also massive. I'm not sure if they're one of the biggest, though. I don't think they are. GDP per capita is $51,987.94, and the GDP growth is 4.5%. All right, let's move on to population. So Canada's population is of 2023. So 2023, about 40 million people. And fun fact, 90% of the Canadian population lives within 160 kilometers of the border. If you're American, that is 100 miles of the border. So for exact, like Winnipeg, most people live kind of like the line of Winnipeg. So kind of like West Coast across Winnipeg to the East Coast. And kind of like everyone lives, 90% of people live under that line. That's kind of what that means. Yeah, the most populated province or territory is not Toronto, Ontario, with a population of 14.57 million people. So, like, that's a lot of people that just live in Ontario of this huge, massive country, second biggest country. All of this, millions of those people live in this little okay, no, it's not little at all. It's one of the biggest. Quebec's the biggest, I believe. Yes, Quebec is the biggest. I know that for a fact. And the least populated is this little island called Prince Edward Island. It is another province, one of the maritime provinces. And it's very strong, but it's actually the highest population density of all of them. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, the population of Prince Edward is 175,835 as of 2023. The most populated town in all of Canada is Toronto with 6.3 million people. That's a lot for Canada. For the rest of the world, not so much. Because, like, Tokyo is probably, like, maybe double it. Like, double. Like, double the size of the population of Toronto. But for Canada, a big population. Then the least is this tiny, honestly, not even tiny. Literally as big as a speck. Okay, maybe not that small. But it's this, I don't know where it is, so I can't zoom in on it, but this is Newfoundland. It's a little town in Newfoundland, and it only has 5 people. Why do they consider it a town? Does it even have buildings? Like, do you need buildings to make a town? Because I could come up north, make a tiny town with no buildings that only has one person, and I could call it a town. It would be the least populated place in Canada. That's absurd! Let's move on to ideology, a very interesting one. So Canada's economy is capitalist, although we do have some socialized programs such as health care. So, for example, in the USA, You have, like, say you break your leg. When you go to the hospital, you have to pay a bunch of money to even, like, have them, like, check you and stuff. Like, for them to, like, do stuff, you need to pay a bunch of money. But in socialist countries, it's free. And since Canada socialized healthcare, it's pretty much, like, free. Like, healthcare is free. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why Canada is a much more socialized country, but it's not socialized. Like, it's not fully socialism. Socialism is the transition into communism, but we're not going to see a communist Canada as Westerners. They don't see communists as a good ideology. They would not agree, and there would be a significant pushback on the government. The government would fall. Yeah, for example of modern-day communist countries, we have China, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos. Did I say China and Cuba? I think there might be a couple more. I just don't know them. Yeah. And, yeah. So that's it. Now let's move on to languages. This is very interesting. Canada has 2 official languages. Yeah, we've taken it to a next level. We got 2. Take that, America. We got 2. The 2 official languages are English and French. So, English mainly spoken in, like, West Canada and Central Canada. So, like, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Then, like, Central Canada. So, like, Manitoba, Ontario. Then French is mainly spoken mainly in Quebec, but and you can find a significant amount of people that speak French in Newfoundland, New Brunswick, PI, and Nova Scotia. So it's a lot more popular in the East Coast than it is in, like, Central Canada, Western Canada. Yeah. Yeah, so French is more dominant in Eastern Canada. Yeah. The top 5 languages spoken in Canada are English, French, Mandarin, Cantonese, and Punjabi. Let's move on to life quality. Wait, what? Oh, PC's glitching. Oh, there we go. Regarding to standard of life, Canada is typically considered a top 5 country. It is in 3rd place. The top 3rd place to live, just behind Norway and just in front of Denmark. I know that for a fact. Yeah, it's happiness index. I can't talk today. Happiness index ranking. Yeah, that's. So we are just outside of top 10 on happiness. So that's kind of sad. Get it? Get it? Yeah, you got that. You're laughing, yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And, yeah, I can subscribe. The next video on the series is going to be explaining the U.S. and Mexico. Then we're going to go to Latin America, Caribbean, Europe, Asia, Africa, yes. There's the name. And then Oceania, then we're going to do it for every single country. So that should add up. I'm going to have 195 videos on that series. So, I mean, that's going to take a while. Probably not going to, it's going to take a couple of years to finish the whole series. But, yeah, hope you guys enjoys. And if you're not, well, better eat your nachos and burritos. They're super healthy for you.